want to know how to get a job? I'll tell you how to get a job. The key to success, mind you. No. You know what? Why don't we just start the video? I mean, that's what we're all here for. That's what we're into. Action. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you don't mind that my hair is kind of natural, a little grunge edge, post Coachella if you will. But I just didn't have time to do it, and I quickly wanted to hop on here and do kind of a random video for you guys, so I hope that's alright. But you should be here either because you A, like me, hopefully you choose A, B, really need a job, or C, love Starbucks and maybe want to have a job there. Those are hopefully your three options of why you've landed on this video. I looked if there were any videos on how to get a job at Starbucks or tips for getting a job at Starbucks, and nobody really had anything, so I was like, who do I know that works at Starbucks that would be like so great at making a video? I couldn't think of anyone, so I thought I would just hop on here. But I do work at Starbucks. So. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just give you guys probably like, I'm going to explain with you my story and how I got a job at Starbucks and tips and I think things that could really help you during your application process for your interviews and how to really seal the deal and get hired with Starbucks. A little disclaimer though before we do get started, I want to say that this is not going to guarantee you getting a job at Starbucks by watching this video or doing exactly what I say. I just think it's a very good aid in helping you with those steps during your application. It's always kind of interesting to hear someone's story, especially if you have the same job or if you're interested in the same field, to see, you know, what similarities there are, what differences there is. So hopefully this video is helpful to you guys. If you are aspiring baristas, send me some love. I would love to hear. Or if you do currently work at Starbucks, let me know where you work. I'm in Northern California. But yeah, I love it. So I will kind of give you my background on Starbucks. So I first got hired at Starbucks when I was 18 years old. I was a senior in high school, and that was in 2011. So I was with the company for about 7 months, and then I left to go to college, and that's where I currently am. When I left Starbucks to go to college, I could have tried to transfer stores to my college town, but being a freshman, dealing with the dorms and everything, I just was like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to handle that big of an adjustment plus a part-time job on top of that. My first semester got involved in other interests that I had. I joined a sorority, and I was never really like drawn to going back. Not that I had a bad experience or anything, just other things were happening in my life, which is great. So junior year rolls around and your girl needs money, okay? I actually got a job on my campus as a barista, and I did that for almost a year, and it was fun. I mean, they're similar but very different also, and I eventually did leave that job just because I kind of wanted to be a little bit more challenged in where I worked, and I did have an internship at Nordstrom this past summer, so I was kind of gearing up for that. So I stayed there about 10 months, but I kind of had in the back of my mind, like, when I get back from Nordstrom, I really want to try and work at Starbucks again. Like, I miss it. That was, like, the best place to give me a really good foundation, a really great work ethic, especially starting at 18. I was kind of being drawn back to Starbucks. I really, like, just, my heart, it was calling me, okay? And I was like, this is great. I've worked there before. I was just a barista for 10 months. This is perfect. I've got a lot of experience. But side note, if you don't have any experience with coffee, don't feel like you're out of the running at all to get hired at Starbucks. Like, most everyone that's worked there had never been a barista prior or had never worked at Starbucks prior. Like, I mean, we take a complete variety of people. Don't think like, oh my god, I don't have experience. That will not be a factor of why you don't get hired. Okay, so I came back from Nordstrom this past summer. The first thing I did was I went online and I applied to the 5 locations in my college town. So let's first talk about the application process itself. It's all done online. That's your first step. Before you're going into the stores, before you're doing anything, you have to go online and complete the application. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to take you at least an hour to complete it. So freaking get that Keurig going, get yourself a cup of coffee, go to Starbucks, get a cup of coffee there and fill out your application there, for Pete's sake. Like, do whatever you need to do, but at least block out an hour of your time for your application. So you can go to starbucks.com and then scroll all the way bottom to careers, and then it'll like pop up like where you live, and I think you can choose, God, I want to say it's like between 3 to 5 locations that you're interested in, because you're not gonna, I mean, you're not guaranteed like, oh, I love this one store, let me not apply to the rest that are 2 blocks apart just because I love this one store, if that makes sense. Like, apply to all the ones in your vicinity, because you truly don't know where you will end up. They kind of hire on a need-based situation, so however many they let you apply to that many. And it will pop up and it will give you all the addresses of the Starbucks in your location. So you just click them all, continue your application. I mean, if you've ever done an online application or anything, it's the exact same layout as that. You know, all your basic demographics, your previous employment and work history, your education, stuff like that. So that's like the easy part. At the end though, some companies do this, some companies don't. Starbucks does do this. It's going to be about a 30 to 40 minute question and answer section, situational based questions, and this is like crucial. This is your first step of like getting an interview or getting called. You have to do really, really, really well on this portion. And a little tip I have for this, it's actually, I read about a few years ago somewhere online that when it's a Likert scale, that's what it's called. The answers that are like, if it's like, okay, Susie does this, what would you do? Like, do you think this situation is correct? The answers are always agree, sometimes agree, like no opinion, sometimes disagree, or always disagree. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see this. My only advice for you on these questions, they're pretty much all going to be formatted like this. I think there's 40 or 50, or there's a lot, so that's why you need the hour. I strongly say you should always pick either strongly disagree or strongly agree. And the reason why I say that is because it shows that you're firm in your answer, you're confident in who you are, and if an employer's reading these questions and they're seeing like, sometimes I agree with this, or they could be right or they could be wrong, it doesn't really give them a strong sense of like, wow, she's really gonna, or she or he's really gonna know how to handle these types of situations. So I would say you always should pick strongly disagree or strongly agree, whatever your heart desires. I mean, if you really don't know, then obviously don't, but I think that can really take you far. Okay, so you've submitted your application at this point. You've sent it to your 5 top stores. Now, this is what I would say to do for you. I would go into like your maybe favorite 2 stores out of that 5. And go in, get coffee, talk to the baristas. I mean, it's really nice when a customer like asks how we're doing and just other really nice things like that. So before you start asking about the manager and stuff, just go to your 2 favorite Starbucks and just talk to them. Just talk to them, get drinks. Try and envision yourself there. I know that sounds silly, but honestly, if you can see yourself working in some place, you most likely will. That's something that I've always taken with me. You have to visualize what you want. So visualize yourself being there, and hopefully good things will happen. Okay, so after you've been in there, I would say at least twice without inquiring about your application yet. So let's say you applied like over a weekend. Go into the Starbucks twice in the next week. Just as a customer, be super nice, super friendly. Like I said, try and engage with the baristas twice that week. And then the week after, I would ask to speak to a manager. Now, when this happens, hopefully the manager's in. Their schedules vary a lot. So if they're not in, ask one of the baristas to tell you when the store manager is going to next be in, because we all have access to that information. So if you go in and you get your drink and you're like, oh, hi, is your store manager available to speak to? They might ask you why, or they might ask you like who you are. Just say, you know, I applied online last week. I would really love to introduce myself in person and kind of explain a little bit of my background to your store manager. That's probably a really solid answer you can give, some sort of variation of that. And if they say, oh, I'm sorry, he or she isn't working right now or isn't available right now, don't just say like, okay, thanks so much, and walk away. Like, no, 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 no. You want to make sure that you can solidify a time that you will be able to meet with them. So then you can just ask the barista, okay, no worries. Like, do you know when he or she will be working next? And then they'll tell you. And make sure you get the store manager's name. It's really, really, like, Starbucks is really, really huge on personalization. We always ask everyone for their names on their cups. We always have our name showing on our name tags. Like, make sure that you are asking what the store manager's name is. And that way when you come back in the next time, you have a little bit of an advantage. Now you don't have to say, hi, can I speak to your store manager? You can say, hi, so-and-so told me that Amy was going to be in today from 1 to 5. I would really love to speak to her. That just sounds so much better. You know what I mean? So this is the circumstance if the store manager is not in that first time you come in. And honestly, don't let it discourage you. Starbucks is so busy all the time. Don't walk out of there being like, oh man, they're never going to give me the time of day. That's definitely not the case at all. Like I said, each store is very different in the sense that like one may be hiring in the next 2 weeks and one may not be hiring for 6 months. It just depends. And that's why you've applied to, you know, the 5 different stores. Okay, so like I said, do this with at least 2 stores. Go introduce yourself, get the store manager's information, and when you are finally able to speak to the store manager, oh yeah, bring your resume. Oh my gosh. Bring your resume. Oh, holy crap. I'm like all over the place, you guys. Okay, when you're going in for that first initial meeting, bring your resume. And when you finally do speak to the store manager, you'll probably just like wait at the end of the counter. The store manager will come out. Make sure you shake their hand. Say that you have your resume with you and just, you know, introduce yourself. Say, hi. Like, for instance, for me, this is just an example. Make sure you have your own like flair on this. But when my now store manager came out, I, you know, very engaging, was like, hi, I'm Laura. It's so nice to meet you. You know, she's like, oh, it's nice to meet you too. And I said, I just applied online, or I applied online last week, and I was just following up. I wanted to introduce myself in person. I'm so passionate about Starbucks as a company. I'm so passionate about coffee, and I would love the opportunity to work for Starbucks again. I used to be we're called partners. So I used to be a partner, and it was just such a rewarding experience, and I hope that I can work for you again. I said something like that, and you can say something like that, obviously, but tweak it to who you are and in your, you know, previous employment, or if your passion for coffee, or if you really just like the company. Make sure you mention something like that in your first interaction with the store manager, because that is key. If you're just like, hi, I'm Betsy, and the store manager's like, hi, I'm Amy, and then you're like, yeah, so I applied online, so I hope you know, interview me. That's probably not going to go very well, because the store managers are so busy. They just took the time out to come meet you. And if you don't have, you know, anything that's going to amuse them for that minute or 2 you have with them, it's honestly like a pitch that you have to give them. If you're just like, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. I hope you pulled my application online. They're not going to, like, that's not going to be memorable. Do you know what I mean? So make sure that you are memorable. That's probably the best way I can put it. Whatever your personality is, whatever little flares you have, if you, I don't know, are like super, super passionate about coffee, you can't get through the day without coffee, maybe make that kind of like a fun little thing and tell the store manager that. Or if you know, you've been coming to Starbucks since you were 5 years old like I had, that was something that was really key when I first got hired at 18 for me. So you always just want to have your own personality and your own flair. And I mean, I personally would be as outgoing and energetic as you possibly can be. I know everyone's very different, and baristas come in all shapes, sizes, and forms, absolutely. But this is a service job, and this is to serve customers. And the first thing a manager is going to look at is going to be, can he or she serve the customers the way that I would be proud to see them do that, if that makes sense. So if you've ever, you know, been a cashier, been in customer service, or anything really, you've honed in on those skills, hopefully, and you can speak to that. So I hope you do that in your first interaction with the manager. So you'll meet with him or her, and after that, they'll probably either say, like, we're not hiring right now, or I'll pull up your application online and see when our next availability is, or they might say, yeah, like we're gonna be looking to hire in the next few weeks. That was the case for me. My manager now, when I went in August, said, oh, like that's so great, you've been a partner before, I'm actually not hiring now, I just hired somebody. That typically happens a lot, but I probably am going to be hiring for the holiday season. And I was just like, okay, great, thank you so much, like it was so great to meet you, I'll definitely be back, or I said something along those lines, and I left, and I kind of in the back of my head was like, okay, I'm just gonna like focus on another store. So I did. I went to another store, did the whole exact same thing, got the store manager's name, found out when she was working, came in and introduced myself, had my resume, told her everything, how I used to be a partner, how I love the company, and how I really wanted to work for them again. And I felt like I kind of had a lead with her, and I really enjoyed her. And she said that in the next week or two she would be calling me. So I felt really, really confident about that. But I actually didn't end up hearing from her. I ended up hearing from the manager I have now, and it took her about 3 weeks to call me. So honestly, don't be discouraged if they don't call you that day or the next day. When I did first get hired, though, I will tell you this, because this can happen too. When I first got hired at 18, I was a customer, a frequent customer, and I not like became friends, but I was like a loyal customer with this one fellow barista. And one day I came in and I was like, oh my gosh, like I applied online, how hard is it to get this job? This would be so fun, like, you know, just having that little banter. And he was like, I think we're actually hiring, let me talk to my store manager. And I was like, oh my gosh, would you? That'd be so great. So I left my information, I left it with the barista, and I kid you not, 10 minutes later, the store manager called me and I had an interview. So that can happen too. Like literally a variety of things can happen. Just do not be discouraged. Like if it takes 2 to 3 weeks, I promise you it is worth the wait. Like I promise you. So in my current situation now, God, this video is gonna be so long, I'm sorry, but I really hope this helps you. Okay, so when my manager did call me, she called me for an interview. So the interview will typically be at that store, just in like the little common lobby area, and they'll always ask you if you want a drink. And I think in both of my interviews I've said no, but yeah, feel free to get a free drink. Like you're there, it's both of your times. Like this is just as much your decision as it is the manager's decision. And I think also it's kind of a test of like what you would drink. So definitely take them up on that. Have one of the baristas make you a drink. Absolutely. Like 100%. I would redo, like if I ever had another interview, I would absolutely have a drink now. Okay. So make sure, you know, your attitude is great. You're very genuine and sincere with your answers, and just be yourself. Honestly, like Starbucks prides itself in like the diversity of its partners. Just be who you are and you'll be fine. So there's the situational based questions, and then at the end, I think both times for both interviews, when I was 18 and the one I'm at now, the manager told me, okay, when I was first interviewed, the manager said, okay, like, I'll let you know in a couple of days, like, what our next steps are, or you'll hear from me in a few days. And I said, okay, great, thank you so much. Always shake their hand at the end. Give them another copy of your resume, always. And you're on your way. That's what happened the first time. The second time, the manager said, okay, great, like, I'll give you a call in a few days. We'll see what the next steps are. It's very similar. And I said, okay, great, thank you so much. Shook her hand, gave her another copy of my resume, and she actually called me 20 minutes later and told me she wanted to offer me the job. And when I was 18, the manager called me, I think 3 days later, and offered me the job. So they are very true to their word when they do say that they're going to do something. If for whatever circumstance they say they're going to call you and they don't, I would give it probably about 5 days to a week, and then I would follow up with them. You can either call them or just drop by, but I would personally have called and said, you know, I'm just following up. I so enjoyed speaking with you, and I still am so interested in working not only for Starbucks but at this store. I was wondering if you know, had your decision or something along those lines, and they will know by then. They should, however, call you. At least in my personal experience, they've been very on top of that for me. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Please subscribe, Leave me your comments below. I'll gladly answer anything, and best of luck. I hope you get your dream job, and maybe it'll be at Starbucks. Thank you guys. Bye.